Hello YouTube, my name is Isabella and welcome back to my channel Stubbornly Bookish. Today I'm going to be talking about the top 10 fantasy books that are on my TBR. Now you may or may not know this, but fantasy is by far my favorite genre to read from, and I want to read all the fantasies all the time. However, I kind of not limit myself, but restrict the amount of fantasies I read just because I fear that I'm going to miss out on other books. I immensely enjoy other genres, and I'm just afraid of kind of pigeonholing myself to the one genre that is fantasy. And because I do that, a lot of fantasies start to stack up on my TBR. I did follow a little bit of a set of guidelines when I was putting together this set of books. I picked a lot of books that I owned in some form or the other. Most of them are books that are a bit backlisted or came out past the year 2018. I think I only have one book on here that's from 2018. So I kind of restricted it a bit because if I just said all the fantasies that I own and don't own, we'd be here for forever. This might as well be a part one because, you know, I always want to read more and more fantasy, but hopefully by this time next year I will have read all of these. I'm planning on doing this video in descending order. So book 10 on my list of fantasies I want to read the most is Truthwitch by Susan Dennard. This is a very popular young adult series based around these witches, and in this world there are quite a few different types of witch, but one of our main characters happens to be a truth witch, which is one of the most sought after. It follows her and her best friend, I think, just maneuvering all this political landscape and trying to survive. Thinking about it now, I actually don't really know too much about this series, but I've been wanting to read it for so long. However, this is a 6-book series, and only 2 books are out in the main series, and there's a prequel, I think, novella that I also own. So I've been kind of dragging my feet on it, but I think book 3 is going to come out soon in 2019, so I think it's finally time for me to start reading this series. I'm very excited for it, and I'm just excited to read about some badass ladies, so very excited for this one. Just as a precursor, I'm going to say that I'm excited to read these books a lot, but it's true. These are the top 10 fantasies I want to read, so please don't fault me that much. Book number 9 on this list is The Lies of Locke Lamora by Scott Lynch. Basically, the way this was pitched to me is that it's adult Six of Crows with a bunch of great bro-y relationships, and I was sold. I have been dying to read this book for years. I think this is one of the first books that I ever remember really wanting to read when discovering BookTube, and I think book 3 or 4 of this series has been put off for a couple years, and the release date keeps getting pushed further and further back, so I just don't want to be lying in wait, to be honest, for a series to be continued. I really want to read this. I'm probably going to read it soon and regret it because there's no release date, but I'm very excited for this one. Damn it. There was another excited. So the only book on this list that I do not own in any shape or form is Forest of a Thousand Lanterns by Julie C. Dow. Forest of a Thousand Lanterns is a book that has just been calling to me ever since it was released last year, and I'm honestly shocked that I haven't even picked it up, gotten it into my possession. However, my instincts were great because they went and changed the covers. It is a young adult, I believe, East Asian inspired fantasy retelling of the Snow Queen. This is a downright villain origin story, and I'm so jazzed to read it. I love villains. I want to read more villainous type stories, and to see this being done in young adult is very exciting for me. So yeah, cannot wait to get to this one. I need to get my hands on a copy, to be honest. So book number 7 on this list is another incredibly popular young adult series, and it is An Ember in the Ashes by Sabaa Tahir. This is an incredibly hyped Roman-inspired fantasy quartet, and I have been eyeballing this series for what feels like the longest time. I just have heard nothing but amazing things. I've heard really that these characters are supposed to be utterly fantastic. The third book, A Torch Against the Night, came out this year, so I'm going to assume that the final book is in the works. It's supposed to be super dark and brutal, and sometimes that's just really what I want. So, oh man, talking about this one has gotten me super hyped again to read this one. So the next book on this list I don't own physically. I have it as a Kindle edition, and it is Jade City by Fonda Lee. From what I understand, the magic system in this world revolves all around jade and the different powers that it gives people. I don't know too much more than that. Really, the selling point was how different the magic system is. Wanting to read this one for so crazy long. However, my Kindle is currently broken, so I can't, but I hope to remedy that soon. The next book is similar to Jade City in the fact that I do not own it physically, and it is The City of Brass by S.A. Chakraborty. I know absolutely nothing about this other than the fact that it took the fantasy world by storm, I believe last year when it debuted. I've just been eyeballing it for forever. And to be honest, I did at one point know what the story was about, but I can't recall for the life of me right now. I just kind of keep forgetting that I own it because I have it on Kindle, but I do desperately want to get to this one. I know the sequel is coming out really early in 2019, and people have started talking about the series again. Cannot wait. This one is super promising, and I don't even remember what it's about, so oh well. So book number 4 on this list is The Tiger's Daughter by Kay Arsenault Rivera. This, I believe, is supposed to be a Mongolian-inspired female-female romance between these two warrior goddess women, and it's supposed to be incredibly badass. Ooh, this one I really want to get to. Full disclosure though, I have heard mixed things in terms of the rep of this book. From my understanding, the queer rep in this is Own Voices. However, I know definitely that the race rep is not. A few reviews have kind of pointed out that the author has mixed in different pieces of different Asian cultures and kind of mashed them into her book, which has upset some people. But I really want to read about two warrior women in love. I know the sequel has just been released. I really want to get to this one, but I did want to let you know about the rep issues. Book number 3 on this list, one that I've been sold on since I heard about it in March, whatever it was. This is my 1/28/18 release, and it's The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang. Cannot wait to get to this one. If all goes as planned, I should be reading this by the end of the week, which, yeah. To be honest, I can't summarize this one for you. I've looked at the description online and it seems incredibly complex, so I'm not even going to try. But this is an Own Voices adult fantasy debut about this young woman who starts attending this magical school. This is supposed to be incredibly brutal and difficult, and I believe a lot of real world topics are discussed in here. Like, nearly everyone I've seen who's read this has given it a glowing 5 stars. The next book on this list, book number 2, is the only sequel that I have put on here. I tried not to put sequels on here, but this one just couldn't be ignored, and it's The Obelisk Gate by N.K. Jemisin. The first book is the 5th season, and the series as a whole is called the Broken Earth Trilogy, and it is this crazy, inventive, high fantasy, and it's nothing like I've ever read before. Currently, I think it's still my favorite read of the year. However, I think I read it in March, so everything's a little bit blurry. I think I'm a little intimidated by it just because I love the first one so much. I'm worried that it may disappoint me. I thought that the 5th season was so amazing that I definitely plan on getting my hands on anything she decides to write in the future, and also I plan to get to her backlist. Really interested to see where the rest of the series goes. I have no idea where it will, but it was phenomenal. Also, it's Own Voices and features a ton of POC and queer characters, and it's just amazing. So book number 1 on this list is a book that I still to this day cannot believe I haven't read yet. It doesn't make any sense to me why I haven't picked it up. It's nuts. But it's Vicious by V.E. Schwab. I haven't read Vicious yet. I honestly believe that everyone who even likes fantasy has read this book. V.E. Schwab is one of my all-time favorite authors. I think to date I've read 6 of her books. When people think of V.E. Schwab, I would argue that they think of Vicious. I think that this is her most popular work, like universally across the board. Everyone seems to love this book. I think it's ridiculous that I haven't gotten to it, like absolutely ridiculous. But if all goes well, I will have read this by the end of the year. I just can't put this one off anymore. I cannot. I'm fairly confident that all of the books that I mentioned today would get at least a 4, if not a 5-star rating. I'm so confident in these books. However, I just have no idea why I haven't gotten to them, and I'm hoping this video is kind of incentive. If there are any books that I have mentioned here today that you have read, I would love to know your thoughts on them down below. I think that is it for me today. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you again very soon. Bye!